I'd like to have someone check in on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, get a dog.
Do you have a dog?
I'm getting a dog. Look at this. Yeah. That's Greg.
Unconvincing.
What do you mean unconvincing? That's Greg. I'm getting this dog.
No, you like the idea of a dog.
Anybody who has a dog likes the idea of getting a dog. That's why they got the dog in the first place.
Do you have a permanent residence?
No,
Anyone to care for your dog during long absences?
I do not.
Do you keep a regular schedule in terms
No,
of eating, sleeping?
I don't.
You're a cat person. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, you know something? If I had a cat, at least the cat would miss me.
Doubtful. Possible.
Hey, Adrenalheads, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Rob.
All right. Well, this episode of the podcast, we're covering a new movie that's been out. It came out towards the end of April, and it came out April 25th, and it's The Accountant 2. And the synopsis for this particular movie, it is a sequel to The Accountant, which originally came out way back when, about 9 years ago. And that came out, 9 years ago. Well, no, yeah, 9 years ago. Yeah, 2016.
Yeah, it was about that.
2016.
Yeah.
Usually, whenever they let things go, when it comes to these movies being sequelized, usually that long range makes it better than the original at times, or you feel the same emotions and everything else you do from the first film. So, or maybe they took delicate care of the actual film, depending. One example would be, for me, would be Bad Boys and how they were able to market that brand, because they had two other sequels and it took them how long to get to the third movie that we just got recently. So this one, well, it literally takes off. They say 8 years in the movie, but it is technically 9 years as far as
almost
films.
as long as the actual,
film
gap.
itself.
Yeah.
The synopsis for the film is: forensic accountant Christian Wolf teams up with his estranged but highly lethal brother to track down a mysterious assassins. And that is true. There is other story involved based upon history with both the brothers, the person in the very beginning, which leads to this whole story. And I like when they give vague descriptions of these. And this was off of IMDb. I'm sure somebody else will put out something out there AI created regarding this, and it'll be more accurate. But the movie was directed by Gavin O'Connor. Like I said, it came out April 25th and 2025. So it's still out there in the theaters. You could still go out and see it, depending on what theaters are carrying it. Some independent movies will or shows will do it. Now that spring is upon us, drive-ins are available, everybody. You can get a double feature. You might be able to get The Accountant 2 after the Thunderbolts. Who knows? But with any movie that we have, we go into people we may know within the film. And obviously, these are recurring actors that were in the original film, minus a few that were in the original film itself. So first off would be Ben Affleck himself. We all know him. He was the bomb in Phantoms. Yo. He was Batfleck. He was Batman in the Snyderverse. We all know Ben Affleck, of who he is and what he's been in. There's no real introduction really majorly needed. And it's glad to see him come back and reprising his role as Chris. Next one.
Next one is John Bernthal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So John Bernthal is actually very well known for some of the roles that he picks are usually him being a lot more gruff, more of a tough guy. In some cases, so I'll give an example. I loved him in Ford versus Ferrari, where he was more of an executive. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't a tough guy there, but it was good to see him do that role. But I think, of course, John Bernthal is very well known for his role in what's it called? The Walking Dead.
Yep.
Shane in the first season, he was is definitely now in Daredevil, where he plays the Punisher.
Yep. He's reprising that role as well.
Correct. So, so he's always been known for, the tough guy role. And I think in this movie, same kind of role that he does as always, I think. But there's a certain charm to him. Uh, I always like the fact that he could play the same role because it almost seems like he does,
Yes.
but he is still magnetic enough where you have to stay there and just watch him, play.
Yeah, he was in.
Watch.
Yeah, he was in Baby Driver. He was in a whole bunch of other films. He was also in one of the Night of the Museums as a mobster.
Was he really?
Yeah, I think
I
he was
didn't
in
know
the
that.
third one. It was the third one when they went
Right.
to England. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, we all know him as the Punisher. I just laughed when I realized this when I was watching this particular film. And I was like, wait, you got the Punisher and Batman on one film at the same time working together.
Right.
It's the first thing I think. And John Bernthal himself, as a person, I met him a few times at conventions. I've actually had one-on-one with him during the pandemic with like a Galaxy Con where I paid for just like a one-on-one with him and I had like a good 15, 20 minutes with him.
Well, that's cool.
Very approachable, very nice guy to talk to. I got to see the inside of his personal gym because he was literally working out that day from home.
He is he is a beast when it comes to that. So
He is a beast and he loves his guns and he loves the military and he has a lot of a love for the military people that are out there too. So he's got a good rapport and then a lot of them give him coaching too as well with the Punisher with guns and
right.
everything. But he's also a podcaster himself and he has his own podcast and it's very down to earth, talks to his fellow actors as well as military people too.
Right.
And how they live after war and their tour of duty and what they have to do. And he's very compassionate about it. So I highly recommend checking that out. So
That's cool.
yeah, it's cool. And next up would be Mr. J.K. Simmons himself. J. Jonah Jameson from Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man from 2002. He's also been in Whiplash, and I thought that was a very good movie for its time.
Freaking excellent. Absolutely
Amazing.
excellent.
Yeah, he could be very mean in that, and that was like cruel in that particular film.
He has such an amazing amount of range. He is one of those actors that he could play a very tough guy, but he could also play a very sensitive, vulnerable guy.
Yes,
And I love watching him in everything he does. He just has he's also like John Bernthal, which is sometimes you'll see almost the same roles, except J.K. Simmons does kind of change it up, definitely on that. But I've seen some roles that almost seem the same. But he's just one of those guys that when he's when he's on the screen, I mean, you definitely pay attention.
oh, definitely,
Yeah.
And his voice is very synonymous. A lot of you Panels to Pixels listeners, you pixel heads, will remember his voice as Nolan Grayson who is Omni-Man in the Invincible animated
Correct.
series on Amazon. So he's been doing a lot. He also did a movie which was a really bad Santa style movie called Red One that had The Rock in it.
I somewhat enjoyed that movie. Not much, but I somewhat enjoyed
I
that
watched
movie.
it. I found it entertaining. I can't say I didn't like it. I thought it was interesting but fun. But you will remember JK once you see him. He was also in the TV show Oz, if you can't recall, back in the 90s. So
He did a show on Amazon with Sissy Spacek. I forgot the name of the show, but it is a sci-fi show. And they're both married and they both go into this like tool shed, but this tool shed basically goes to another planet. Somehow they get transported to another planet and it's a room where it's just a big window and they could see outside. They could see like there's two moons outside or something like that. So it's a completely different planet. And the whole show was about how did this room get there? and how is it that they could get transported there, but they've been doing it for a while, and then it's the entire mystery behind it. And I thought it was so well done, and I think that Amazon dropped it, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that show a lot. If I forgot the name of the show, but if you could try to catch it on Amazon, it's actually very good.
Yeah, yeah, I highly agree too. Next up, just to throw it out there, Daniela Pineda, who plays Anais in The Accountant 2. Yeah, she plays you probably have seen her in Jurassic World Dominion in 2022. She was in Cowboy Bebop, if you remember that short show.
Was she really?
Yeah, apparently she was in that, and she was in an episode of Tales of the Walking Dead, which was on AMC too.
Okay.
More alumnus from The Walking Dead, and she's got a little bit of a career. She's very young. I say young, but she's 38 years old, and I guess I'm talking from a standpoint of uh, an older man. But yeah, you could see her in those, and then she was the hit woman in this particular movie, if you recall.
Right.
So she was the one with the blonde hair and going after uh, the Cynthia Dye Robinson's character, which was
Right.
Medina.
And
And
we'll definitely talk about that. Because those were interesting roles.
yeah. And talking about Cynthia Dye Robinson, we could see her and her screen roles credit Star Trek Into Darkness 2013, Justice, a show that was I think it was on Netflix, and it was from 2006 to 2007, and Arrow, obviously, I remember her from that as well, from 2012 to 2020. So all you WB fans, or CW I should say, from the Arrowverse will remember her from that. So she's been around for a while. She was also in Lord of the The Rings of Power, and that
Oh,
show. So she made a couple of episodes in that, as well as Spartacus, that came out in 2010 to 2013, if you all remember that show.
right. Huh.
And then we have a replacement of a character that we had from the first film. So Justine was played in this particular movie by Allison Robertson, and she replaced Allison Wright as the character. So it's an older version, I'm assuming, or a different version. Or they probably didn't get Allison Wright to come back, because it's been 9 years, and actors will, it's like, I don't want to do that particular role again.
Right.
But a lot of her shots were, if you look, were from the side or from the backside, and with long hair, you could look like that particular character. And of course, being that her voice was computer generated with an English or British accent, it works out in the end.
It's funny. I thought it was the same actress.
You would think, right?
Right.
But no. And yeah, she makes her debut in The Accountant in this particular film. So she had no other great screen credits, apparently. She was in Love Transparent, which was a short in 2021. Another short called Fear to Be Brave, and that's in 2020. And The 31, which was a TV series. So she must have made an appearance in that as a character actor in 2021. So she, on her IMDb, and if you research her a little bit, you will find that she plays guitar. So she's very much a musician. And she's not British like Allison Wright. She's American. So she comes from the North Hollywood location in Los Angeles. So it's pretty interesting. And they actually have the music group that she was in. You want to laugh, Rob?
Go ahead.
The Donnas.
The Donners.
Yeah, the Donnas. Kind of like the Ramones. If you remember, they were an all girl punk group
Right.
they called themselves the Donnas, almost like it's like Allison.
Prima donnas. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But albums, the Donnas, and then Turn 21. So that I thought that was pretty cool. So it's interesting. That's why. So I was like, wait a minute, they keep showing pictures. Oh, she was a musician, and she got her turn out to play in these particular movies. They do show cameos because when she was in the Donnas, she did do the movie called Drive Me Crazy in 1999, if
Mm.
you recall that movie,
Okay.
which had Melissa Joan Hart and Adrian Grenier and Ali Lauder in it. So the Donnas actually do show up in the movie as the Aristocats or something like that. And I do remember the movie, which is really scary.
Hmm.
But yeah, we have her, and we have pretty much our major heavy hitters. We talked about Cynthia Dye Robinson as well, but there's a few other actors, character style actors, some that come and go if you watch the movie and you're like, you just don't care for it because either A, they're the villain, and you're just like, well, he's gone,
Well,
and that's it.
Grant Harvey, didn't he come out in the Umbrella Academy?
Believe so.
Yeah, he was the guy with the monkey or with the ape body.
No, no, that's not Grant Harvey.
No?
No, that's not him at all.
I thought it was. I mean, he seemed looked just like him.
No, no, that's not him. I'm forgetting the actor's name, and I should remember it too, everybody, because we did cover Umbrella Academy on Panels to Pixels, Steve and I.
Okay.
But no, that's not him. I
That's
would
not him.
no, that's not
Okay.
him. But if you
I confused them then, yeah.
yeah, you did confuse him. It's so funny too because if I look at his Q and information,
I mean,
I
he's come out in I would say he's come out in Bones, he's come out in Criminal Minds,
yeah,
Lucifer, Supernatural.
yeah.
And he was even in Medal of Honor, The Rookie, Animal Kingdom, Station 19.
Yeah, Station 19 is big now.
Yeah.
Everybody
Uh,
goes to that.
oh, he was even in Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan for 3 episodes. But all right, my mistake there. For some reason, I thought that he was the guy from. He looked familiar. I mean, he looked just like him.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
I could see the likeness too, but no,
right.
I know that particular actor because I covered it for so many seasons. And I've seen him in other things, and then I left because I asked a woman's appeal about that particular actor
Right.
and their character. They're like, I don't like him. I was
Right.
like, wow, everybody usually thinks it's like he's hunky, he's pretty boy, and they're like, no. I was like, wow,
Tom Harper.
yes, that's
That's
who
the
it
guy.
is.
Yep. All right. My mistake.
It happens.
My mistake. He
Yeah.
just looked just like him. And I was like, oh,
Well, Grant's probably like, I like being put up against a guy like that.
correct.
Probably. Yeah. So yeah, we have a decent amount of cast. Obviously, there's like a core cast, and that's what I usually try to center around when I do these initial ones. But as far as the movie is concerned, this is where we get into our overall thought. Rob, what did you think? First impression when you sat down in the theater to watch this film, and knowing that after you've seen the original account and liked the original account, what was your thoughts?
My thought on it was here's what I think. I think Ben Affleck and John Bernthal really play off very well off of each other. They have good presence in the movie. They seem to have good chemistry. Even off screen, you hear that they became really good friends, and because John Bernthal, of course, he's also a father.
Mhm.
A lot of comparing notes on fatherhood and things like that. So, but it seemed like like they really, really had that connection. I liked that this was a little more lighthearted. The first movie was a little dark.
Yes.
And of course, I still liked it. I think the the surprise at the end, spoilers at the surprise of the end of the first movie, where you don't know that they're brothers up until
Yeah.
John Bernthal,
Spoilers, everybody, but if you haven't seen the first movie, why are you here?
yeah, exactly. So I thought this movie was great. The action was great. I don't know. It's just it was a movie that it was a good popcorn flick that I just sat there and I thought, okay, this I could jive with this. This is actually very good. Um, One of the things that I wish they explored a little more, like the first movie did, was the relationship that they had as younger kids,
Hmm.
because the father being a military, I guess in special forces or something like that, was abusive in the way that he was raising them,
Yes.
where it's I don't think, or at least with what I would say with Ben Affleck's character, he probably doesn't think that it was abusive. This is just the way things are.
Hmm.
And I also like the dynamic from the first movie with him and what's her name,
Anna Kendrick.
Anna Kendrick.
Yeah.
I wish, the one thing I really wish, because in the first movie they really went into like how he made money.
Mm.
So like, you would see like in the Airstream that he had a Jackson Pollock. He had he even had like a Superman #1. So these are ways that he gets paid.
Yes.
And I wish they showed a little bit more of that, because as you sat there and every time he opened the drawer and you saw what he had, you're like, oh my God, this man has like millions of dollars in this damn Airstream. So I wish they showed a little bit more of that in this movie. That was the one thing that I was like, oh, I kind of wish they showed more. He did say, oh, I could afford it, meaning he has a lot of money.
Yes.
But yeah, I also like, I think the development of, or the character development of John Bernthal, on how he truly loves his brother.
And that want of brotherly companionship that he longed
Yeah,
for so long.
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's the movie really touches upon, of course, the people on the spectrum and being autistic, and it's on how John Bernthal has to deal with his brother not having the same kind of emotions like he does, and how he has to kind of explore that and deal with it in his own way, which is interesting. So, but that was one of the cool things I liked about that. I also liked the I liked the part in the country bar, which I thought that was really good,
The
and
line
how
dancing and
the
then him
line,
being proud
well,
of him.
Ben Affleck trying to date, or like
Oh,
the character trying to
yeah.
date, and it was just so funny, because especially in the beginning of the movie, he approached dating just like he approaches accounting,
Hmm.
you know.
We're not compatible. I gotta
Right,
go.
right, exactly, that kind of stuff. And I like the fact that one of the first things that I liked was that they were like so everybody out there, so in the beginning of the movie, he's at a dating event. So it's one of these things where,
And they
people,
hired him too, specifically so they could. And he just said, "It's like your statistics don't work properly."
right. I don't think they hired him.
You don't think so? You think he just gave his opinion about
I
it?
think that's what he did, because he was trying to date. But the thing is, like, so everybody, I guess when you go to these dating events, of course, not the most good looking people out there. And then you have Ben Affleck sitting there, in a suit and tie. And all these women looked at him and they were just lying, huge line just to meet him. But everybody else who was sitting down waiting to like talk to women, all those chairs were empty. And in the end, the poor guy just, kind of scared off every woman that, that approached him. And I thought that was interesting. He's like, okay, now he's trying to date, which I think what he should have done was go back to Anna Kendrick, who I think would have probably accepted him how he is.
Yeah, considering gave her a Jackson Pollock at the end of the first film.
Right, exactly. No, but I like I said, I liked the movie. I thought it was a little more lighthearted, but I like the fact that they did dive into more of
It
the
humanized the character a little bit more.
the autism, part
Yeah.
of it, and how other kids also deal with that. But I didn't realize how much of a freaking like I don't know, Jason Bourne operation, CIA, like his the
Well,
girl, the British girl.
yeah, that to me was like you had the woman in the chair, and that's how Justine is, and that was
Right.
left from the first film. There was more humor with her in
But
comparison to the
but
way
in the
she talks to
first,
him.
yeah, but in the first film, all she had was like this like really expensive computer
Yes.
and a monitor.
And then now it's branched out, and she's got a whole crew of other autistic kids
Who are just hacking away at things, and all like all of a
Correct.
sudden it became like just a CIA operation. I was like,
Yeah, that's
what
the
the
one
hell
thing.
happened here?
That's what drew me away. Yeah. My impression was I saw the advertisements. I saw the trailers. And when I first saw them, I said, okay, I could see the serious side of it, but they were playing on the humor. And the one thing I did not need was a Tango and Cash style movie with John Bernthal and Ben Affleck with somebody who's autistic and somebody who's outlandish, and they're both related. And they kept pushing and pushing on the humor. But after seeing the movie, I liked it, but there was three key moments in the movie where it was a little over the top with the humor in the sense of how it was portrayed,
Okay.
and taking an effect of, I'm not saying they were laughing at autism and how it was, but also explaining in some way in a humoristic point, whereas in the first one it was very serious. So I assumed that this movie was going to be a little bit serious than like the original.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying I hated the movie, and I'm not saying I didn't like the movie. I did enjoy the movie. I was entertained. I liked it not as much as the first one, but almost equal to some degree because I love the character development of John Bernthal. We got more of him, his particular character, especially when he has somebody and he's talking to her as if he's on a date with her. And then you realize he just killed all these other people and she's there in the very beginning of the movie. And he's just talking to her about, dating and everything else. And she's scared out of her mind. And then you realize it's like, oh, he just did away with it's like, okay, there's a little bit of a disassociation with this guy that is not right. But
And it wasn't like one guy. At first, you think it's one guy, but then you started,
going down the hallway.
The hallway, and it's just like littered with bodies everywhere. So
Yeah.
I'm sure she was like, "Well, I'm dead too," but he let her live. So
And he leaves her, and it was his talk about a cat or dog and stuff like that, and it was interesting,
right,
and then it was kind of a dark humor at that point.
correct,
And that I understood because, okay, we knew Braxton and how he was from the first film. And then we get the whole thing when Chris finally calls him and asks him for help. And then when their first encounter, he goes, Chris, why haven't you? That was 8 years ago. You could have called me. He goes, I knew you were. He goes, I had your phone number. You had mine. And he goes, you could have called me for my birthday. Hey, Braxton, let's do something. Let's go somewhere. It's like, happy birthday, Braxton. And it was like pointing out something to autism, which is very much aware. It's all the socialistic things that they lack, but you can
correct.
tell that Chris is still struggling with this. And this is literally their journey together within this story to come to that, which I understood. But it was like the line dancing thing. I thought it was a little bit over the top, but it made me giggle. I'm not saying I didn't laugh at it.
I liked it because one, yeah, of course, the girl that was trying to hit on him, but
Yeah,
I saw with the line dancing was not him trying to line dance. He saw a pattern,
correct.
and that pattern,
And he
which
mimicked
he's
it.
very right, which he's very good with.
Mhm.
He decided, okay, I could do this. You know, like him trying to probably do something like regular dancing will probably be extremely hard for him because it is an unknown. But once he started looking, like you could see that he's looking at their feet.
Mhm.
He's looking because line dancing, of course, is a choreographed routine. But he saw that, and once he started like going, he just got into it because he recognized. He's like, oh, okay, this has a pattern. And I'm sure in his mind he's going, this also has some kind of mathematical thing to it because of the way his mind was working. So I
Yeah.
enjoyed that part.
Okay.
The part that I thought was funny was that when the guy, the usually the douchebag, in those bars that approached them, Braxton wanted him to hit him
Mhm.
because he wanted now his brother to jump in and have a good time fighting.
Yes,
So,
because
and
that's how sadistic he is.
yes, I mean, it was kind of like oh, okay.
We could go
So,
into a barroom brawl now.
yeah. And it
It's
was
like
fun.
you had the dance. I'm happy that you're trying to talk to a chick. Holy crap, you're dancing.
Well,
Uh,
he got her number because she wrote it on his palm.
yeah.
But I thought it was funny how John Bernthal goes, "Oh, nothing like punching somebody in the face," and I was just like, "Geez, well, that's a little extreme." Okay,
It is.
but
Uh,
no, I don't know. I enjoyed that part of it. And it's like you were saying, it's like you were saying that the it almost looked like a Tango and Cash kind of thing. I just thought there was just more of the brotherly banter back and forth.
yes. Yeah.
And even though
Especially on
he
top of the Airstream when they were hanging out.
yeah, because even though he hasn't seen him for 8 years, he still treats him like he just saw him the other day.
Yes.
It's not like, oh, he's a stranger kind of thing. He still tries to joke with him, or if
Mm,
not,
yeah.
just get him riled up and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I like that part of it because it's like, oh, John Bernthal's character really misses his brother,
Mm,
and just, and I guess he just doesn't know how to handle his brother, but he still misses him and
yes.
misses that. Ben Affleck's character, while he misses John Bernthal, he doesn't know how to express that.
Yes.
And that's why I thought, oh, this is kind of a cool thing to see, which you didn't see in the first film.
Hmm.
You kind of got a hint of that
You got a hint
towards,
of that
towards
based up
the end.
towards the end, and then on top of that, his wanting to associate with people like with the old people in the house that he was shooting at, and
Right.
Anna Kendrick's character as well. And with this in this movie with Medina and how he approaches her, because sadly enough, J.K. Simmons' character gets it in the very beginning of the film.
Dude, that was quick.
That was so quick. It's just like, here's a minor appearance by J.K. Simmons. And the fact that he writes the accountant on it, and then
Right.
Medina was already set up from the first film.
I don't know if you noticed that lately a lot of movies have taken like major celebrities,
Yes. Bryan
and
Cranston and Godzilla.
killed them off right away in the beginning of the movie. It's like, oh, done, or something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
if like when you watch the Thunderbolts, that happens to a character there too. Spoilers, I'm sorry, but I'm not saying who the character is, but
Yeah.
it just happens. Like it's been happening more and more in movies or TV shows where, hey, they mention a certain personality, a cast member.
A high celebrated actor, and then
Okay.
you think this always, and I always go back to it. Scream with Drew Barrymore.
Right.
They had her on the poster, they had her on everything, and next thing you know, spoilers to everybody who's never seen Scream, but you're about like 35 years too late or 30 years late. Yeah, she dies in the beginning.
Yeah, no, they off her like super quick.
Yeah.
So it's I find that interesting that it's like, oh, J.K. Simmons, cool, he's gonna be in this, and then next thing you know, it's like, okay, he's gone. So
But it forwards the plot and the story for Medina to follow through with
correct.
the what she's investigating for the FBI at that point.
Right.
And then you see now, instead of that being held over her head with her history of violence and her being incarcerated and her file was closed. And then it was J.K. Simmons' character who put her in his place because he was retiring. And this was supposed to be his last thing. And then the reason why he wrote the accountant, because he knew that this person could do it. And I loved it when Chris shows up and he basically introduces himself in the garage from a distance shot. And she's just like, he goes, I'm the accountant that you're looking for. And then that's when they begin that rapport. And then eventually it leads into, and then you could see it on Medina's face, because once he gets, Braxton involved, she goes, what did I get myself into?
Well, I mean, she got herself into, she's here, so she's a person. What, in the FBI? What's the department that she works
Treasury.
for? Right. I mean, but she's still a law enforcement officer, and she's riding around with two assassins. And it's like, yeah. So, and she already knows that, Ben Affleck's character, Christian, is an assassin already. And then to introduce Braxton into it, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, that's not only my brother, but, he also has a very, what I would say, dark past, which she right away kind of,
Well, she finds that later on, in the story, when she goes, wait, and then she realized he was tied to these other deaths. And it's like, how do you know this person and how they got killed? It's like, I was there. And then even Chris says it. He goes, well, you just,
implicated himself.
Yeah, he literally stated it. It is like, that's how he stated it. You just implicated yourself in several murders.
I also enjoyed the character Anais, that's played by Daniela Pineda.
Oh, yes.
And funny enough, at first, she looked Asian to me.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then when you later find out that, she is basically the missing character that they were looking for. Mm-hmm. Her character, what I find interesting is this, which I had to look, like I was trying to look it up, but I guess somehow she lost her memory.
She got a brain concussion, which affected her brain and gave her acquired autism.
Acquired savant.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Acquired savant.
Whatever. And I was like, acquired savant syndrome. And I was like, is that a real thing? So when I looked it up, it says a rare phenomenon where individuals develop extraordinary skills and abilities in areas like music, art, or math following a brain injury, stroke, or other neurological event. And I guess it's a real thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and I'm like, if I ever get a brain trauma,
I hope it's part of the brain that I haven't opened up yet.
Oh my God, man. I want to learn like a language in a day and, probably play 17 instruments or something
and then compose
like that.
like John Williams, and then you could just retire.
There you go. But yeah, very interesting that I didn't know that was a thing that could happen, that all of a sudden your brain opens up to more possibilities. And I was like, wow, then
I've heard of it. Actually, I did hear of it before this movie came out.
Oh, you did?
I don't know where I heard from, but the one thing I had said, and this is a joke, and some people didn't like the joke I said, and you probably listeners will not like it, if it's acquired savant syndrome, why are the initials ASS?
Yes. Oh,
Ass.
Jesus.
Uh,
Okay, moving on to
like I
that. Moving
said,
on
bad
from
joke.
that.
Leave it to me, everybody. I know. Now you're like, oh
Oh
god, I
my
don't want to hear this
God.
podcast anymore. But yeah, the movie, like I said, it had its moments where it was like the action was good. I really did enjoy the action that we got out of it between both Bernthal and Affleck, especially the fight scene between Daniela Pineda and Cynthia Dye Robinson too at the end with the fight with the knife. And
Oh my God, that was brutal.
that was brutal. And how she got her lung punctured, her spleen
Oh, she fucked her
fractured, and
up.
she's got a fractured jaw too as well.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, and I was like, you hear from Chris because he was applying pressure as the cops and everybody were coming. But there was a need for that for what the reason for her mission, and it all had to do with Andrew Howard's character Batu and Robert Morgan's character.
Right.
And this is why the treasury was there, because it's illegal bankers and them doing whatever they were doing. Chris happened to get into the fold because of what Medina was doing, and she needed the help because, obviously Raymond King left that little note on his arm that he wrote down,
Right.
oddly enough. And I thought it was well constructed as far as the story and how it began and where it moved into. It was like certain parts, like I said, like where the line dancing was a little bit over the top, that whole comedic thing, but especially with them punching the guys out the window, it just reminded me of like Roadhouse at that point. But
Roadhouse.
it didn't take away from the film from me. I still enjoyed it. I'm not saying, oh, this was the best. I didn't think it was better than the first. I thought it was somewhat equal, but gave that little humoristic edge to it that the first film had. My mother was very much a lover of the first movie because of how it was portrayed and how it was. And like you, Rob, I think it would have been great to see a little bit more of how the father trained those two boys as they were growing up, because we only got a
Right.
little bit of flashbacks here and there from the first film, and they kind of concentrated on that, and then they strayed away from it, and you didn't see that father ever again after he got killed at the
Right.
funeral.
And I wish they kind of would have gone into that a little more in this movie on that, because we kind of saw how it affected Christian,
Yes.
but not really how, I mean, not as much with Braxton. And it would have been interesting to hear Braxton's point of view on all of that,
Yes.
which we didn't hear any of that. So, but like you were saying, it's a great movie. I mean, it's a good movie.
Mhm.
They're both, the first and second movie, while related to each other, they have different tones and different pace. And I enjoyed both of them. I think I enjoy the fact that this was not a carbon copy of the first movie. This kind of just
A
and I have
continuation.
yeah, and I have a feeling that they'll make a third movie from this. Um, but I'm surprised they made a second movie, because the first movie didn't do very well
No.
and didn't get a very high score. So the fact that they decided to do a second movie, I was shocked on that. I was like, really? Okay. And then I was kind of, pleasantly surprised that, oh, okay, this is same characters, kind of familiar, but I'm glad that it wasn't the same tone as the first one. There's still little things that I wish they would have, that they would have kind of touched upon, but it was kind of a fresh take on this world.
Hmm. Yeah, and this I didn't really see how much it cost to make this movie, but I think recently they showed it's like about a week ago.
Wasn't it 90 million or something like that?
Probably, knowing that, because you got two heavy hitters actors right there, and the cost of them being in there alone.
Right.
I think so. No, that's Sinners. But yeah, the accountant. I was looking up box office. I know that you have one that you know of that.
Oh, yeah. You could always go to what is it? Box Office Mojo.
Box Office Mojo.
That is where everybody goes to see what movies made what. So the accountant so far has on opening day made 24 million in 3,610 theaters. Right now, as of today, it's made 68 million dollars.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
I see that. Yeah.
yeah, the thing is that this movie, I believe, let me see.
The cost of it was probably
That is what I'm going to try to
80
find
million.
out. Was it 80?
I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm guessing.
Ba, ba, ba. They don't even say it because they're probably afraid to say it. Like we had to pay them so much money. No,
Yeah, right.
it actually cost
80 million.
$80 million dollars.
I guessed
Yeah.
it.
$80 million is made 67 million. For it to actually even break even, it has to make double of it would have to make $160 million.
At least.
Yeah, which I don't see it making $100 million at all. So this is probably going to be a failure too.
Yeah. But it will look better for people for the actual movie itself because it's getting high regards. A lot of people like IMDb is giving it a 7.1 out of 10.
Yeah,
Rotten to
the
yeah,
problem is that you have other movies that just came out. So you have like, you have the Thunderbolts, you have um actually what is the slate of movies coming out right now?
there's a whole ton of them. Sinners came out
Sinners
with
is another one that's have you seen Sinners?
not yet.
Oh
No,
my God. Freaking phenomenal
I
movie.
heard it is really great to
It
watch.
is absolutely amazing. That is definitely probably one of the best movies of the year.
That's
But
what I'm hearing.
yeah, but I mean you got movies like that that's actually going to probably take away um from that.
Mhm.
Um I went to see Warfare not so long ago, which was a movie about, the Navy SEALs. And let me tell you that in IMAX, that is a visceral movie. It is insane. Like I was like, wow, the surround sound on this and like the actual sound design on this was absolutely fantastic. So another good movie that, there's a few movies that came out that I know that will take away from the account too, and I wish more people saw it because I
Yeah.
would definitely like to see a third movie come out of this.
Yeah, there was another movie that came out recently too, and you got Rami Malek. You have John Bernthal in it too, so he was going up against himself. But this movie, it came out on April 11th, and it was called
Yeah.
The Amateur, and it's
I
got
mean,
raised,
you still have Minecraft, which is out there, which
yeah, for kids and
that
family.
is doing also absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I went to see the accountant and I walked out in the middle of it. I couldn't take it anymore. It was the problem is that I never played Minecraft and
Oh, you walked out at during Minecraft?
oh yeah, like I couldn't do it because
I
I
never
think
played the game, so I
I
never
never
really
I
saw
ne
the appeal.
right. I never played the game. I didn't see the appeal and there's so many things in the movie that people that play the game have recognized that that's why they enjoy it.
Hmm.
But the thing is, I how can I say Jack Black is an acquired taste for me, and it depends on what he's doing. And in this movie, I found him so damn annoying.
Yeah.
And the only reason I went to see it was because of Jason Momoa, and Jason Momoa's character was just so dumb.
It was over the top humor, pretty
I
much.
just
Yeah.
like I said, I sat there and I was just like, I can't do this anymore, and I just walked out. And I rarely walk out of a movie, but yeah, that was just one of them that I had to walk. But I think like all those movies, like Thunderbolt Sinners, Minecraft,
Yeah.
they're just taking away from, I guess, box office receipts from for the accountant too.
Yeah. Well,
So
honestly, uh, over the past 5 years, over the past 5 years, it's been very hard
oh,
with theaters.
it's been very tough. Yeah.
It's hit or miss with certain films. I think Oppenheimer and Barbie were the two biggest main hitters that we've gotten within the past 10 years.
Well, did you hear? Which I heard this and I was like, oh my God, what else can this man do? Like Trump wants to put a tariff on movies that are not made in the United States.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
first of all, a tariff is usually done on products, not on services, and the movie industry is basically services.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to put a tariff on, which I'm like, this is a man who knows nothing about the film industry and how it works and how complex it could be. Granted that, like the UK has some incredible tax incentives for productions to be done over there and things like that. And would we want to see more done here in the United States? Of course we would.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that sometimes there's certain states that they're not as competitive as
They're more
other.
costly to
Yeah.
film in New York City. If you look, they recently were filming Daredevil Born Again season 2. Dexter, the new Dexter show, is being filmed in New York City.
Well, New
as
York
well.
has some good tax incentives going, but now it's like they're really trying to compete with each other, and the problem is that
Atlanta,
sometimes,
New York, California.
right? But the
yeah.
thing is that like places like Canada usually have a big film industry there
Quebec
because
is very much a big
a lot of
filming
production
hub.
goes over there. You see it in the UK, you see it in a lot of places, and especially if you're going to do a movie that's like a period piece and it takes place in a certain part of the world.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go there. Or if not, how many movies are, hey, it was done here, but the visual effects were done,
CG to make it look like there.
Well, no, but it was just more like, okay, Industrial Light and Magic. Yes, it is in the United States, but Weta is in New Zealand.
Correct.
And in some cases, when you look at it, when you're looking at credits and you see all these different visual effects houses that had to get involved.
Yeah.
How are you gonna? What are you gonna do? Is like, oh yeah, I put a tariff on half of your movie because half of it was done outside. Well, if it wasn't done outside, this movie probably would have never gotten done just by one effects house. And things like, oh yeah, like you have, like let's say, oh, Hans Zimmer who lives, in the UK or what is it, in Germany or wherever he lives.
Yeah.
And you want to get Hans Zimmer for your movie, but he likes recording in his studio. It's like, what are you gonna do? So it's like all these different little things that you're like, dude, you're talking out of your ass.
Yeah. Stay in your own lane.
Yeah, but it's making
Yeah.
so many people nervous, and especially for an industry that is already having a hard time.
Yes.
It's like, dude, you're really, every time you open your mouth, it's just
You're putting your foot in it.
it's just garbage coming out of it, and it's like it just makes people nervous and all this stuff, and you're affecting people's lives. So when I heard that, I was like, dude, no, stop. Just stay in your lane, dude, because all your shows sucked. Whatever. It's, I don't know, man. And I'm not trying to get political or anything like that here. It's just I heard this, I was just like,
I heard it too, and I spoke to somebody who's in the film business. He goes, He even said it. It's ridiculous.
It is. It's absolutely ridiculous. But going back to the accountant too.
Yeah.
No, I like I said, I did enjoy the movie. And it has its good points. Like I said, Daniela Pineda. What I found interesting in her character was that so savant syndrome usually affects uh math skills, so more acquired math skills and more acquired artistic skills. In her case, it was more violent skills.
Yes.
Which I was like, oh, so
Well, it
now
started off with chess and everything else. You see her with the training and
but
all
she
that.
became combative, which was interesting.
Correct. Yeah.
And then after that, she just kind of took it to a whole new area where it's so as I read, like the whole acquired syndrome, savant syndrome.
Yeah.
It's the stuff on music. It's more of the artistic part of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So now my thought is, well, when you take martial arts, there is a artistry behind that,
Correct.
but there's also the other side of that, which is it's a combat system.
Mm-hmm.
So in her case, she went from one to the other, which I don't know if that would exist in savant, in that savant syndrome. So what surprised me was that she was the person that they were looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here.
So, but I would, the one thing, my biggest, one of the things that my biggest nitpick in this movie was that after she stabbed a federal officer, it wasn't said that she was now wanted. I think she is, but you see, what's her name?
Medina.
Medina. You see that she's not like, oh, I'm upset, I need to find the woman who did this.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so what's going on with this woman? I mean, she, of course, gets her revenge on the person who killed her son killed her husband.
And then took her son away from her.
And took her son away from her.
Yeah.
But after that, you don't know what's going to happen with her.
Yeah, she just goes on the run at this point.
Is she like a fugitive? Is she's going to, be something of a, hey, now she's going to be used maybe in the future as an asset? There's a lot of things that, those are unanswered questions.
Maybe that's where your thoughts of, hey, this could lead into another sequel and she could be another asset to the accountant at a later point.
It could,
because we do see Braxton and Christian at the end with the son, and then we see after the long conversation about, oh, I want a dog. Oh, this is the dog I want. Well, that's not what you want. You're talking to, it's like and then Christian just talking about how, no, you're not. He goes, well, are you going to be home? Do you have anybody to take care of the dog while you're gone? No, it's like, you're a cat person. And then we see at the very end, Braxton's got a cat, but the kid's got the cat in the back, and he goes, well, and then you can see how Braxton is retorting back to being like a childlike person, like, well, it's my turn with the cat. It's my cat.
Right.
And that's where I got the humor, and I thought it was interesting and fun because you could see where both Christian and Braxton had lacked in growing up in a regular family.
Having a normal childhood.
Yeah.
They did not have. Yeah. So and you definitely could see that, and you could definitely see the childish part of both of them, which was still kind of cool because it is funny in that sense.
Yeah, and sad at the same time. But yeah.
But yeah, so that character was just like I said, an interesting character, and when you surprised that in the end, she looked completely different from the picture that they had.
Yes, or the video that we saw of her taking out the Yeah. Did they have a different actress at that point, or did she change her looks?
Well, remember, she was a little bit heavier.
Mm,
And then in this case, I mean, she got really lean and very, basically, I mean, she had like the body of a fighter
that is true.
compared to her just looking, a little more pudgy. But
Hmm.
then in the picture, you see her husband, and her kid.
Hmm.
And of course, one of the motivators for Christian to try to save this kid was because he somehow knew that this kid was also
On the
autistic.
spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and for him, he kind of cared about that.
Yeah. Well, considering
So
he's got a whole little army
he
behind
has,
computers.
yeah, exactly. He has his own NSA of autistic people, but I found it in a way, and maybe the third movie might kind of pick up on that, where like
It
her
would be nice.
her character, she said, "That's not me anymore."
Mm.
So to her, she doesn't have a son.
Yes. Like that was another life
That was
that's not
another
her.
life that's not her anymore.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, oh, so she's not gonna kind of acknowledge that to herself that she has, this kid is still alive.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that if they do a third movie,
It comes about where
if they
she's able
bring
to
her right,
acknowledge.
if they bring her character, I hope that she could possibly acknowledge her kid, now or something like that, or maybe
Mm,
something inside her awakens, and maybe that's where Christian might actually help with that, with her.
very true.
Right. But at the same time, she's wanted for, stabbing a federal agent. So, so that would be, I think that would be an interesting movie to see where this goes. But like I said, my overall experience with this movie was it was a fun movie, and the brotherly dynamics between both of them was actually fun to see.
Awesome. Yeah, like I said, I did enjoy it. I didn't think it was far better than the first, but I liked it equally because of how diverse it was.
Right.
But I guess after a second viewing of it, I'll probably come to grips with it and be like, yeah, I like them both together. And this is probably with me how I feel with like some like Pitch Perfect and movies like that, because each of those series of movies were equally as good. I didn't think one was better than the other. I like them independently. Now
Right.
let's just hope if they do a third one, it doesn't take another 8 years, because by that time, you know, Affleck's going to be 61.
Correct. No, I think that if they are going to do something, they'll try to do it as fast as possible. I
Within
mean,
another 3 years at
yeah,
least.
because listen, man, Hollywood needs some money.
They do.
Uh,
So yeah, uh, the ratings have been fairly decent. Like I said, I mentioned Fandango has it as like an 80%. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 77%. A lot of people are still going to see it. A lot of people are talking about it. It's a decent movie. If you haven't seen it and you wanted to listen to this and it was spoiler full, but you wanted to get an idea of what you were getting into because you've already seen the first film and don't mind spoilers like I do. But yeah, I would highly recommend it. And if you saw it and you have any opinions, please always feel free. We didn't get any feedback whatsoever. I did put it out there and post it. So in the event that you do, but we normally get a lot of stuff because I don't know, like last week I got something that I did like 3 years ago.
hmm.
So it was pretty cool. And I did respond to them. They didn't really want it posted or mentioned, but
Okay.
it's just like, well, thanks for listening. And wow, okay. But you know, with that, to submit your feedback if you want to, all you have to do is go to our Facebook group, which would be facebook.com/AdrenalineCinemaPodcast. What's on Facebook is on Instagram. So we're on Instagram at AdrenalineCinemaPodcast. And you could just leave your comments in the images that we have below. We'll read them if you want us to read them. If you feel the need to send an email, you could easily just write one out and send it to AdrenalineCinemaPodcast@gmail.com. You could record yourself and your voice, and then we could play it here live. Doesn't necessarily have to be for this particular episode. It could be an older episode, and we'll play it later on if you want that. That way you can give your opinions, and it actually promotes for people who are listening to the newer podcast about an older one, and it makes them aware of it. We are on YouTube. We also play these on YouTube. So we do have followers, listeners. So, just leave a comment there. I get them just the same, and we'll do the same and read them out if you want. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, TuneIn, Deezer, and whatever podcast player of choice. If you are having problems with listening to certain episodes, please be advised. We switched over podcast hosts. So we are now on Spotify Creators, and that's hosting our platform, but we are on all the other apps. If you need to refresh your podcast player of choice, do so, or reboot your phone, refresh the feed. I had to do it a couple of times till everything got it right. And I made the mistake on Pounds to Pixels where I named the same two different episodes the same episode. And why that happened, I don't not know. I think it was just me being tired and I forgot to change the number. But do that. And please, there's always a rating and review for Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Please do so. And you could also comment within Spotify itself. And we got them. I actually did something live recently last week based on Pounds to Pixels. So, yeah, that's where you can find us. That's where you can send feedback. Just to let you guys know, I can be found right here on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast as always. Panels to Pixels as well. We will be back with the Thunderbolts for Panels to Pixels podcast. Pyrocore music podcast. Lara and Billy just put out the Joy Division episode that they covered. So they covered the band Joy Division. They had a good time doing that. And they did a little something unique, which I thought was pretty cool. They gave some sort of alcoholic beverage recipe based upon Joy Division.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so check that out. Look forward to hearing myself and my friend Robert Muir. We're going to be talking 50 years of Iron Maiden. We also have the episode out there for Guns N' Roses for that. For Panels to Pixels podcast, I already told you we're going to do the Thunderbolts. And then whatever comes our way, we're going to be coming back. I'm hoping Jamie can get back on board. We could finalize Invincible for you. And then whatever else comes out within that time, comic book based, or we might just go in the past. Oddly enough, I've been watching old Captain America movies, and I don't know why. Now, I'm not talking about the MCU ones, everybody. I'm talking about the 70s, 80s, and the 90s.
Oh, jeez. That's horrible.
I don't know why I suffer, make myself suffer.
Did I tell you that I got right? So I'm one of those people that I sometimes will see something and I go, why did I get it?
Yeah. I know you acquire a lot of stuff that I do, and you go, why did I buy that?
Yeah, exactly. Being a pop culture fan, and sometimes you acquire certain things and you go, why did I spend money on that? Mm-hmm. So when I went to see this movie, the account, they actually had a popcorn bucket.
Oh, they did?
That looks like an Airstream.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it looks like Christian's Airstreamer.
Correct. So you open it up from the top.
Yes.
And like the wheels work and everything. But my thought is I'm going to actually put like a little Jackson Pollock on the top right there.
Where it was in the ceiling.
In the ceiling. I'm going to do that and put it right there because I think that'll be cool. I don't know why I got it, but I just thought, oh, okay, that for some reason that just looks freaking cool and I like it. So yeah, like this whole popcorn bucket thing has been getting out of hand.
It has. Well, you already mentioned you saw the Thunderbolts.
It's a limousine.
Yeah, they have the Crimson Guardians limousine in it. Yeah,
with him inside.
Yeah, a little action figure.
A little action figure inside. I thought it was crazy. So yeah, no. And then I think for Minecraft, they have like these square buckets, and they're all like different colors, and they
Yeah.
have like 12 different ones or something like that. But yeah, so I remember when I first saw it, I was like, oh God, they have that. But then I went to the movie and I saw it and I was like, yeah, that looks kind of cool. And then I saw the movie and I liked the movie. And as I'm leaving, I look at it again. I go,
I'll buy that.
ah, shit, I'm gonna buy that. I don't know why. But it does look cool. I don't know. It's a cool damn thing. So yeah, so it's here.
Yeah, it's a new trend now with people going to the theater to get these cool buckets. And I think
Listen,
years ago, I what was the last Star Wars film that was an official Star Wars Disney film? I forgot.
well, when they released, what was it?
Revenge of the Sith.
N-
They have a Darth Vader one
Yeah, so Revenge of the Sith, they had like a Darth Vader helmet or something, but it's small. It was just small.
Yeah.
And then I think for Phantom Menace, they had R2D2 or something like that, which half of it is popcorn, the other half could be a drink.
They actually used that for not The Force Awakens, not The Last Jedi. It was the third one, the final one that they did, and I saw that, and the thing was huge.
Yeah, no, it's gigantic.
It's gigantic.
So, I mean, listen, I understand that sometimes, these theaters have to come up with something in order to get people
Gimmicks.
in.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to come in. And the problem is that, it's like, oh, yeah, the movie gets released now, but we'll have it on, streaming in 2 or 3 weeks.
Well,
really?
Typically it's 3 months. And then depending on how popular it is, they'll change that to like within 3 weeks.
They shortened that now from like 90 days. Now sometimes it's like, oh, it's 30 days. And you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, hey, listen, I'll wait another 30 days and then I'll have it here streaming. So I honestly think that what they should do is just make people wait a year.
Like we used to for VHS tapes.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember that when we were in our younger times, and VHS for you guys out there who it's a tape.
Yeah.
For us to see it on HBO. That's what it was.
That took like 2 years.
That took like a year to 2 years for us to see it because having a VHS machine was expensive.
Yeah, my uncle got one of the first few back in 78, 79.
It's a fucking $2,500 machine at the time.
Yep.
And
tape trading was huge too back then in those.
And it took
years.
like, I don't know, it was like 50 pounds of how big it was.
And a top loader.
Right. So for you to actually see one of these movies on VHS you had to be rich. Which most of us were not. So we had to wait for HBO if you paid for HBO.
Or if you had cable at that time. In the early 80s, it was not available by me. I knew people that had WHT through a satellite.
Correct.
And then cable didn't get to me in my area till 1986, until I was in high school.
What was it like? You had you just basically had over the air antenna, feed. So you're waiting 2 to 3 years, and when you finally got to see it, you're like, oh wow, the movie's on TV, great.
Yeah.
Oh, but movie theaters back then will leave a movie to run for several months, if not
almost a year.
Almost
I remember
an entire
Independence Day of all things in the 90s.
Listen, how do you think what was it? Titanic made its money. Titanic made its money because it was on for an entire year in the movies,
and then they re-released it.
And then they re-released it, of course. But like Titanic is not a $2 billion movie. Like it's like you look at it, you go, that's not no. But it's because there was nothing else better to do.
Yeah.
And the girls, and of course, very chick flick. So the girls were like, "Oh, I want to see Leonardo DiCaprio again." And it's 5 months later, and I have nothing else better to do. Let's go see that movie again. So yeah,
that was like Independence Day, Apollo 13. Those movies stayed in the theaters for a long time.
They stayed for a long time, 6 months, 8 months, a year, almost. Sometimes a year and a half.
That
nowadays,
is true.
nowadays, 30 days, boom.
Yeah, and they
You
take
know?
it out, and you got to wait, and then you hear people going, "When is it going to come out to streaming? When?
Yeah,
When?
yeah, exactly. And
I
no,
want it now."
and what gets to me is then the studio's wondering why. Oh, why didn't it make money? Well, if you left it in the damn theater. But the
Yeah.
thing is that these streaming services and of course pay a lot of money
Yes,
for it. And remember that in the past, it wasn't only the movie that when it came out, but then of course there was a whole DVD at the time, which they made. Like if a movie did not succeed
they would still get a
in the
kickback
theater,
from DVD and
the
Blu-ray
kickback
releases.
from DVDs will actually make it succeed now. They
Yeah,
make their money back on that. Well, they take away DVDs, they take away, the lifespan of the movie at the theaters, and it's like, oh, and then you're expecting this movie to make money.
correct.
I don't understand the finance and accounting when it comes to that. It's
They're gonna have to reevaluate themselves before they start losing money to that point.
well, they
Uh,
are losing money, but
yeah.
somehow I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. I mean, I'm
It's a
glad.
strange world we live in at this point, and it's a
Yeah,
digital age.
I'm glad I'm not in that industry anymore. I just can't.
But you keep paying for it.
No, I mean I pay for the movie, but the fact that I don't work in that industry
I know,
anymore,
I know.
yeah, it's just, yeah, no, I don't know. It's because listen, when it's good, it's great,
Yes.
but when it's bad, oh, it's bad.
Oh, it's
So,
really bad.
yeah. So,
All right. Well,
all right.
as you listeners know, well, Rob's been here before. He'll probably be back again on Adrenaline, or if not, Panels to Pixels podcast.
Yeah, I'll be somewhere.
So we already told you how to get some feedback, but that's about it. That's a wrap for this particular podcast. I just want to thank everyone for listening. I'm Mark,
I'm Rob.
and this was Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. And we will talk to you next time when we change the film reel. Bye-bye.
Bye.